The following are some of Kenyans who have been abducted and disappeared recently. Mark Million Carey, he was abducted in Nairobi. Michael Olo, abducted in Nairobi. Families wept in the Milimani High Court demanding his release. His last location was along Kagudo Road. Evans Omondi, abducted alongside Olo and Carey. Abdulaziz Duba Molu, alias Zizo, abducted in Kiamaiko on June 23, 2026 by armed individuals in civilian clothing and police uniforms. Davis Lichuma, a rights activist seized by the masked operatives outside Parliament, later traced to a hospital heavily battered. Omwancha Clifford Evans, listed among the recent abductees by local human rights groups. Manyura Morisori Douglas, still missing following a wave of clandestine security enforcement operations. Jimmy Mtava Mwanzi, abducted in Mlolongo, not seen to date. He was abducted at the instructions of DIG Langat. Dennis Chege, an activist who was said to be involved in the Gen Z protests, vanished and remains completely unaccounted for to date. Brian Stigo, a Nakuru fisherman, who mysteriously went missing in 2022 under similar contested operations at Lake Nakuru National Park. The plan promised Kenyans that the National Coroner Service Act of 2017 will be amended to establish the Coroner General's Office. The objective and aim of this amendment was to remove the burden of investigating suspicious and police action deaths from regular police channels and DCI. Further, the amendment of the Act was aimed at removing potential conflict of interest and ensuring absolute transparency in handling and explaining deaths, enforced disappearances, or fatalities resulting from the law enforcement operations. 4 years later, this promise has not been fulfilled. National Coroner Service Amendment Bill 2026 was officially published in the Kenya Gazette on April 16, 2026, and received by the Directorate of Legal Services in July 2026. It is currently at the introduction and pre-reading stage in the National Assembly, awaiting formal first reading and committal to the relevant departmental committee. Mr. William Ruto has also facilitated acts of transnational repression against foreigners in Kenya. More specifically, on July 24, 2024, 36 Ugandans, members of a Ugandan opposition political party, as part of a joint Kenya-Ugandan security agency operation, and were forcibly returned to Uganda. On October 18, 2024, 7 Turkish asylum seekers were abducted in Nairobi by masked men. Kenya later confirmed it forcibly deported 4 of them to Turkey in a joint security operation, citing bilateral ties, drawing severe condemnation from the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and Human Rights. On November 16, 2024, Kizza Besigye, leader of another Ugandan opposition party, was kidnapped by Ugandan agents while visiting Nairobi. Kenya government officials claimed they were unaware of the abduction, but the Ugandan authorities maintained it was a coordinated action between the two governments. Tanzania journalist and human rights activist Maria Sarangi was on Sunday, 12 January 2025, almost abducted here in Nairobi. Prominent Zimbabwean constitutional lawyer and human rights defender Brian Kagoro was detained and deported from Kenya on February 22, 2026, intercepted by immigration and national intelligence officers at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi. He was held for over 10 hours and subsequently put on a flight